So today is all about the hips and the hamstrings. I'm calling it hips and hammies because alliteration is always better when you're doing workouts from home, right? Sure, whatever, just take my word for it. We'll get right into it, okay? Not too much talking for you here today. We're gonna check things out first, check out the hamstrings, check out how your hips are feeling naturally, and we'll come back and check them out again later. Start with the Jefferson curl, tuck the chin to the chest, roll your spine down one vertebra at a time. This is one of my favorite things. I feel like there's such a good movement in general, right? Move the spine around, gives you a good idea of how your body's feeling in any given moment. So just take a few, see how good you can be at actually segmenting one vertebra from the next. And at this point, we're checking out the feeling of the hamstrings at the bottom, right? You're getting a little extra movement in the spine, which is A-okay in my book. But really, you want to feel the very bottom of this. How soon do you want to bend your knees? How soon before you start to feel excruciating pain through your hamstrings because they are not what you think loose enough, right? Hang down here at the bottom for a sec. Take a few deep breaths. For me, my bottom today is not quite as, mobile, flexible as it would be if I was warm, but I think after this video, I'm going to be able to go a little bit lower. I'm going to feel a little bit better in that cold mobility, if you will. Or I guess at that point, it'll be warm. All right, from here, take a deep squat. So walk your feet out a little bit wider, and we're going to drop down into that deep squat position and then stretch the legs again, back up. Okay, this is definitely a little bit more than just hips and hamstrings. We've got the knees going on, we've got the ankles. There's more to it than just hips and hammies, but consider that a bonus for today. All right, a few times, get yourself used to coming down into the deep pose here. One last stretch, and then stay at the base of your deep squat. Okay, so if you end up liking some of these movements, you could use them as a warm-up. You could go through just the beginning of this video if you don't want to work on actually gaining more mobility out of things. But for now, I'm going to take you through a little series in the squat position that can help warm up your hips, your knees, even the big toe joint and the bottom of the foot. So at any point, if you need something else to hold on to, a couch, a dog, grab something close by if you need it. The floor is always a great one. So we're going to start with internally rotating, bringing this knee to the floor. All right, I've turned my whole torso. I'm up on the back toes, stretching out the sole of the foot. And I'm going to come right back down. Heel to the floor every time. Pivot. I bring my hip into internal rotation, open it back out, place the heel on the floor. Maybe about 5 of those. And this could be uncomfortable, yeah? Like if I were to sit here for a while on this foot, it doesn't feel so great. Maybe take that as a hint that you should probably do this a little bit more often so that it doesn't start to feel so uncomfortable. Bring it on back. We're not gonna hold anywhere today, at least not in those positions. I'll save that for another video. Okay, take the same thing on the other side. Some internal rotation of your hip. The knee comes to the floor, toes still on the ground, high up on the ball of the foot, about 5 times. You could do more, you could do less. I wouldn't do less. I lied about that. I'd say at least 5. Keep an eye on my dog, by the way. He's been chasing flies. So if you're lucky, maybe he'll see one and he'll give you some acrobatics. All right, so after we've done this internal rotation, next up, we're gonna take some twisting for the spine. Something else for you to do while you're hanging out in this position. So I like to bring the hand to the floor in front of me and then reach one arm up towards the ceiling. And then you're going to try to thread the needle, bring the elbow down toward the ground underneath that other arm, and then back up. If this feels easy and you want something a little bit more challenging, instead of having this hand on the floor, you can hold on to your ankle and try to bring the elbow to the ground instead. Again, start with 5 reps. plenty of reps to check in with how you're doing today. I think that was 5. I'm going to say it was. So I'll go ahead to the other side. I'm going to take my ankle right away because this is feeling pretty good for me. I'm not doing this first thing in the morning. I've had a chance to move around a little bit today. I taught a few classes, went to Costco, you know, living the dream. Just normal people things. All right, once you got your 5 out of that, maybe you need to stand up and come back down, but hopefully we'll get you to the point where staying down in this deep squat doesn't bother you too much. The last one that we'll do in the squat today is a forward fold. So what I'm going to do is try to build a little tower out of my hands and then reach down, touch my forehead to my hands and come back up. Now you might be like, hold on to there, Miss Thing, lady, girl on the internet. I can't do that. What the heck am I supposed to do? You can make your tower taller by trying this. See if you can do pinky finger to the floor, stack it on your thumb, and then do another one of those shapes right on top and see if you can get your hand or your head down to your hand, okay? So there's an option. If that still doesn't work, just get as close as you can and come back to this video a couple times because maybe by doing the work, it'll start help opening up your hips. Okay, so again, about 5 times. And then what we'll do is hold for 10 seconds at the bottom of the last one. So let's call this the last one. Big inhale, exhale, bring the head to the hands. Hold it for about 10 seconds. Three, 2, 1, and roll yourselves up out of that position. All right, so we're gonna have a seat on the floor and get into a 90-90 position, okay? So now that we're in this 90-90, really do want you to check out the shape of your legs to start. The front leg should be at a 90-degree angle, thigh to shin, and then the side leg also wants to be at a 90-degree angle, thigh to shin. Something else to consider here, imagine that you are sitting on top of a clock, right? 12 o'clock is here, then 3, 6 is behind you, 9's on the other side. The front knee, the front thigh bone, is going to be the hand that points straight to 12 o'clock. And then that leg to the side, if you've got your right leg out, is going to point straight to 3 o'clock. If you're on the other leg, it'll point to 9. So check out your shapes. Be a little diligent about this geometry because it's important for right now, all right? Maybe this position is already starting to talk to you in your hips. Maybe it doesn't feel so awesome. So what we'll do first is grab the hip of the leg that's to the side. For me, it's my right leg today. And just rock gently back and forth, trying to create some movement, as much movement as you can get. For me, just because I'm the only one in the room right now and I'm basically just talking to no one, you get to hear what's on my mind. My leg that's to the side is the one where I feel the most discomfort. You might get more discomfort in the front hip, and that is totally fine. Obviously, everyone's bodies are different. So if I speed through some of the things that hurt me less, I apologize for that, okay? So hopefully moving this hip around has helped create a little bit more warmth in the system, a little bit more, or a little less pain. All right, the next one we'll do to check out some things is a bow forward and to come up. So I'm just gonna take my torso, lean forward over the front leg as much as I can, and check out a bunch of different angles here. Okay, not just one direction. Sometimes when we stretch, we think about just making one particular line of pull flexible. But especially for something like the hip, that's a ball and socket joint that really rotates a lot, you wanna make sure you're getting lots of different angles as you stretch and as you work on that joint. You know, you could even stay down and move from side to side while staying down. And now that I'm down here, I'm noticing how much I need to vacuum this rug. I'll do that after I film. Had to get the important stuff out of the way first. Cool. So that's all we're gonna do on this side for now. Next up, just leave your heels. Imagine they were glued to the floor. They couldn't move. And you can bring your hands back behind you this first time. And we're gonna kind of windshield wiper the legs from side to side. Okay, just open and close one hip and then the other. And eventually, this could have you lined up right on the other side. Okay, so if you stop that way, you'll see that now we've got, for me, my right foot front and my left leg to the side. Okay, check out the geometry of your position. 90, 90. It's a lot of 90-degree angles happening with this, really. But we've got one leg pointed forward at noon, the other pointing to the side. For me now, it's 9 o'clock, and we'll start by moving the side hip around. This is my hip that's currently in more of an internally rotated position. Do you need to know that? Not necessarily. So if you hate that I use technical terms, my apologies, but it's easier for me to explain some things that way. Look at my sleepy dog. He's being so good. Taco, you being a good boy? Yes. Yes, he is. All right. So if that's feeling good, we can move on to the bows forward and back. If you need a little more time here, feel free to take it. Okay. So I know I've demonstrated this with my hands off of the ground. That might be something that's asking a little bit too much of your body right now. So if you need to keep the hands on the floor, especially for this beginning part where we're just sort of assessing what the body feels like, how much range of motion you have or don't have in a place, it's all good. An option to stay low and maybe twist one side to the other side. And then last but not least, one time, we'll check out that rotation. So heels are going to stay on the floor, just where they are. Option to take this without hands on the ground if possible. It's a little bit of a core workout when you do it that way, but I like it. Maybe it feels nice just to keep the hands behind you for a second as well. And then one last test. We'll go back to the hamstring test or back to the hamstring stretch just on the floor. It'll be a little bit different. The first thing you want to see, are you able to even sit up straight with your legs extended in front of you? You'll know that you've got some work to do on those hamstrings if sitting in this position by itself is a challenge, right? Maybe that looks a little bit more like this for you, or if you sit up straight, then your knees have to bend. For sure, continue with this video and we'll have you hopefully sitting up straight with those knees straight in no time. Otherwise, if you've got it, reach the arms up, exhale, fold forward as far as you can. Check out how the hamstrings are feeling. Roll it back up when you inhale. Just a few times. Flexed feet, pointed feet, whatever floats your boat. Which is a weird thing to say because flexing or pointing your feet I don't think would float any boat, but there you go. All right. So I hope by now you've got a pretty good idea of how your body feels today. And we're going to start by opening up the hips, internal and external rotation. Okay. So this is very similar to the position we just worked in, those 90-90s. I want you to go back to that. Pick a side, any side, doesn't matter. I always do this side first. So because of that, let me start with the other side. I got right leg forward, left leg to the side. Might look opposite for you looking at the video at home. So like I said, pick a leg. I don't care which one you do because we're going to do both. The first leg we're going to start working on is going to be the externally rotated leg in the front. Okay, so I will turn a little bit to the side for this. And I'm taking this idea or this process from functional range systems. Okay, what we're going to do first is find a stretch in the front leg. And you want to do that with a really long spine. So if this is it, if you're here and you're getting a stretch, great, stay there. If you need to lean forward a little bit until you feel more stretch in your front leg, go for it. So for me today, I'm all the way here. All right. Now the back leg, it can come out of its 90-degree position because we really just want to focus on that front leg at this point. I'm going to start a timer, and we're going to hold this pose for 2 minutes. All right? It's important that you stay here for 2 minutes. It allows your nervous system, your brain, to kind of talk to the muscles, the cells that are in the muscles that says, we're all right. We don't have to freak out. We don't have to hold on and be extra tense. After about 2 minutes, your body's going to start to accept this pose a little bit more. And more importantly, what's going to happen is as we start to work in this position, your nervous system is going to be more accepting of learning new things, i.e. gaining more mobility, gaining more range of motion. So I'm trying to just talk you through this 2 minutes so it's not super boring to sit here and listen to nothing for 2 minutes, but we're going to repeat this process over and over again with different parts of the body today. So cue up your favorite playlist if you just don't want to sit here and listen to me talk, and make sure you check in just to hear when we're actually going to do some of these active components of this exercise. All right, so we got about 45 more seconds to go. And what's going to happen next is you'll keep the same exact position. Stay in your stretch. And we're going to start pushing the leg down into the floor, like you want to drive that whole leg, the thigh, the knee, the shin, the foot, through the ground. Okay? But we're not going to do it all at once. We're going to start easy. Start at 10% of your max. Then gently ramp up. I'll walk you through that. Eventually we'll get to 100%, which should feel really tough. It shouldn't feel easy. You'll hold your 100%. Probably I'll hold you there for about 10 seconds, and then we'll gently ramp our way back down. But wait, you won't be done then. After you've ramped your way back out, at 100% of your effort, you'll try to pick that leg up off of the floor and hold that for about 10 seconds. Okay? So this gets tricky. You feel like you should be doing a lot, and you'll feel like you're doing a lot, but it's not going to look like anything. So please remember that we're not moving anywhere. Right? And it's been about 2 minutes. So you've got your stretch. I want you to start pushing your leg into the floor at 10% of your max. Then 20, 40, 60, 80, 100%. Everything you can. Drive your leg into the floor and try to hold it there. This should not be easy. Give me another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back out to 80%, 60, 40, 20, 10. Next up, we're going to try to pick the leg up toward the chest. Don't move your torso. Really get a lot of contraction in the rest of your body. Here's 3, 2, 1. Try to lift the leg up and the shin and the heel, all of it. Hold, hold, hold. If you get a cramp, that's normal. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Okay, can you get a little bit deeper into your stretch with more comfort? If so, you could try that same exact process again. Okay, I'm not going to do that today on video, but know that if you're learning this, taking this as something that you want to do on your own time, every single time you finish this series, if you're able to gain more range, you could do that process again. Okay? So for now, I'll take you into the next one. Now we're going to go internal rotation and work the leg that's to the side. So I'm going to turn toward that leg, increasing my amount of internal rotation by holding my torso over there. I'll reset my timer. I find my stretch. For me, I'm going to lean back a little bit to find that. It gives me a little bit more stretch through the inner thigh. And we hold for 2 minutes. So last time I just called it that thing, this process that we're doing. But I mentioned before that I'm taking this from a system called functional range conditioning or functional range systems. They call this PAILs and rails. Okay, so maybe you've heard that on the internet before. I'll throw a link at the bottom so you can check out, the source of where this comes from. But it works. I really like the way my body feels after I do it. So I wanted to share some of it with you and kind of incorporate it into some other movements, some other flows, things like that. But the bulk of the mobility work you're going to get in this video today is PAILs and rails from functional range. Now, if you're like, hold on a minute, PAILs and rails, what the heck does that stand for? I'll give you some more nerdy talk. PAILs stands for Progressive Angular Isometric Loading. The word I think that you would probably want to know most for this one is isometric. I mentioned that we're not moving when we do this. This does not require you to actually lift or push and move your body. We want to contract the muscles right where they are because you're already at your passive end range of stretch, okay? So we're coming up. Another 30 seconds or so. Oh yeah, just to complete my last thought. If PAILs is progressive angular isometric loading, rails is regressive angular isometric loading. You don't need to know that in order to get the benefits from this work. So if you want to know more about it, you ask me. Drop a comment below or something and talk to me about it then, or ask me in person. All right, first thing we're going to do, drive the leg down into the floor. Okay, so take a deep breath in. I want you to feel some contraction radiating throughout the rest of your body, your abs, your arms, both legs, your hips. Drive down into the floor at 10%. 20, 40, 60, 80, and everything you've got. Hold it. Hold that 100. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gently start to release. 80, 60, 40, 20, 10. Next up, on the count of 3, we're going to try to lift the leg off the floor, increasing your internal rotation. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Try to lift the leg. It shouldn't go anywhere. Everything you got. Pull, 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 pull. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. All right, test out your internal rotation. You can lean back more. You can come forward more. Maybe you just want to wiggle around in your 90-90. If you feel like you've still got some work to do, hit that section of PAILs rails again, right? If you'd rather do the front leg again, you can go for it. You can do these as many times as you'd like, as long as you're still gaining a range of motion out of it, all right? For the sake of the video, I'm going to take us to the other side. Now my other foot is front, the one that we just worked in internal rotation. Now we're going to go external rotation, okay? So go ahead, find your 90-degree angle off of that front leg. The back one doesn't really matter so much. Even if it's out here, it's probably fine, okay? So place the back leg somewhere as comfortable. Extend your spine, right? Try to get long and without rounding through your back. So this does not count. Like, sure, I could get down to the floor here. I could stay there for a while. That's not going to give me as optimal of a stretch in external rotation as if I was keeping my back longer and flatter. So here I am. That's my stretch for now. I got my timer, and we're holding for 2 minutes. Maybe something like yoga blocks could be nice. Household items, hold on to if needed. I do have a couple of props back there, but those will be for a little bit later when we get into the hammies. So while you're here in your passive stretch, you don't need to push anywhere. It's called a passive stretch for a reason. You're just hanging out. You're not doing much of anything except stretching. That makes it sound like it's not important. But remember, we're gonna rewind a couple minutes ago when I talked about why we're holding that 2-minute stretch. You're holding the 2-minute stretch because physiologically, the cells in your muscles need that much time to be able to communicate with your nervous system and vice versa, to send the feedback back to your brain that tells us it's okay to be here and to not tense up. So that once we start doing those PAILs and those rails contractions using the muscle, there's a lot more kind of workspace to use. And that's how you'll end up gaining more mobility. You'll gain more external rotation in the front hip or internal rotation when we do the next one. So if you've started to feel like maybe your passive stretch is opening up a little bit, you're more comfortable in this position, that is a good thing. Just still hang out here. We're going to stay in that same spot. We've got about 20 more seconds to hold. So start generating some awareness, some stability, some support in your abdomen. Okay, we're going to start generating our contraction here. And that work, that strength is going to radiate out to the rest of the body. It starts to tense up. And then that tension goes into the front leg, and then we drive it down into the floor with 10% effort. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Whatever that means. I feel like I'm trying as hard as I can, but it doesn't feel that hard. Maybe I'm just not good at this yet. I could fake it. I'm like making a face for no reason. Push. Hold 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to 80. Ramp it back down. 60, 40, 20, 10. Take a deep breath in. We're going to try to pull the leg up off the floor in 3, 2, 1. Pull it. 100% of your max. 5, 4, 3. I'm almost cramping. 2, 1. Release. Check out if you've gained any range of motion. I feel like I gained a lot, actually. So, if I was doing this on my own, if I was really working a whole full session of just external rotation, I would definitely do that again. But since this video is hopefully going to just give you an idea, you'll feel great afterwards, don't get me wrong, but I want to give you a lot of info, okay? So we're just going to go through each PAILs rails once. Let's go PAILs rails on the right leg with internal rotation. Turn your torso as much as you can towards your right leg. Maybe you need to lean forward to get your best stretch. Maybe you need to lean back to get a good stretch on that internal rotation. Whatever one it is, you do you. Bodies are not the same. I don't expect your stretch to look like my stretch. I don't expect mine to look like yours. I'm going to try it from here today, leaning forward a little bit because I usually lean back. So I just want to try it from a different place. Right, since my hip rotates, since my muscles have fibers that go in all different directions, I can do this from a lot of different places. There's not always one answer. Right, Taco? You gonna wag your tail? Yeah, that's a good boy. That's my baby. His joints look pretty good. He can fold up in a tiny little circle. 1 minute in, 1 minute to go. It's also a good time to focus on your breath, staying calm. Notice if you're holding tension in any other part of your body that doesn't necessarily need it, like your shoulders. We want useful tension, but not over the top. Okay, about 20 more seconds to hold. Start generating your contraction from the abdomen. Right, lighting up the core so that you find some strength that kind of radiates out from the center to the rest of your body. And we'll get ready to press the leg down in 3, 2, 1. Internally rotated leg down into the floor at 10% of your effort. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Push. Get your foot down, get your shin down, the knee. Try to drive the thigh into the floor. Kind of lean over or lean back away from it and hold another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ramp slowly out of that contraction. You've heard me say it a few times, so hopefully you get the idea. All right, now that we're back at 0, we get to do the rails contraction, our regressive angular isometric load. That's going to be pulling the leg up off of the floor in 3, 2, 1. Try to lift your leg, not just your knee, not just your foot, but everything all at once. It shouldn't go anywhere. And you're pulling, pulling, pulling. I'm getting lots of stuff going on right here. Give me another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Wiggle it around. So I've got one more for the hips. This is kind of like for the inner thighs, the groin. And they call this one bear pose or sitting bear pose. I've never seen a bear in real life, so I don't know if they do this. Well, like not in the wild. I've gone to the zoo. I'm not an alien or whatever. So bear pose is this. Open out both legs like you're in a big sumo squat or a grand plie second position for my dancer folks out there. Hold on to your ankles and then drive your elbows into your knees until you feel a stretch. This is where we are going to hold that 2-minute stretch. All right, ideally you're gonna have more of a flat back position. You'll feel a better stretch through the groin, through the inner thighs there, in more of a rounded position. More than likely you'll feel this in your back. So we're trying to go with hips today. So now we have both hips in external rotation. We're gonna try to do both at the same time. Okay. 2-minute stretch. I mean, if you get nothing else from this video except you get to hold a position for 2 minutes and work a little mindfulness there, I'm in. I think that's a good thing. Give yourself a chance to slow down, connect to your body a little bit. A little bit over the halfway mark. You might not start to feel easier in this pose yet. It might take a full 2 minutes. And that's all right. All right, same rules apply. We're going to start generating some strength through our center. Irradiate a strong contraction throughout your entire system. And the push that we're going to do first is going to be driving the knees into the hands, or sorry, into the elbows. Okay, so push the knees up against your elbows. Don't let them move anywhere. You got to fight against it with the elbows. 10%, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Try to hold that. This one really hurts for me. Or not hurts, but it's work. Let's go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ramp yourself out. 80 down to 0. Not all at once, but just take it nice and slow. Now we get to pull the knees away from the elbows. Try to pull the knees to the floor in 3, 2, 1. Pull. Pull it away. Maybe you'll get a cramp in your glutes. If you do, it's all right. It's just something you got to work with. Another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Woo. Okay. So that's all the active mobility work for your hips that I have for you today. Feel free to take a little break at this point. Stand up, walk around, do a couple squats, see how you feel. Maybe just do what I'm doing. Check out some of those positions that sometimes are a little bit more challenging for you or not warm, you know? If you need to warm up your hips before you do squats, before you do work in the gym, or even work around the house. This could be a great thing to do. All right, so next up on the list, hammies. We're gonna do some PAILs and rails for the hamstrings. And there are a couple different setups that we could use. So I'll show you one of the most basic ones first that's probably gonna work for most folks, okay? And I mentioned some dancery people. If you're out there doing any of these videos, you might need to elevate your leg a little higher onto a box, a coffee table, something that you have around. If you're in the studio, maybe onto a bar. You could do this standing. But for now, here's what I got. I got this little setup. We've got a cushion for my knee because I don't want to put my knee on the hard floor. And then I've got 2 PVC pipes that I'm going to use to give myself a little extra pressure and force and for balance. Alrighty? So I'm going to start with my right leg out in front, completely straight so that you start to feel a stretch in your hamstrings, okay? Potentially, this is it. Maybe you got enough stretch here. Maybe you are more flexible in the backs of the legs like I am, and you'll need to lean forward. So I feel a stretch here. That's where I'm going to start my timer. Okay? It's nice to have these PVCs because they give me something to lean on. If your arms are long enough, you could lean on the floor. If you've got yoga blocks, you know the deal. You could prop yourself up on anything. I made a bunch of videos during the pandemic. Now you just get stream of consciousness, Abby's brain again. And I think we used wine bottles for a lot of things, right? Like you could use wine bottles for weights. You could use wine bottles for blah, blah, blah. But I was thinking like, you could prop them up like this and hold yourself up on your wine bottles if you need. I like this better though. So, form check. We're going back to some form stuff. Make sure you're not doing this. Leaning forward with a rounded spine is not going to help you increase the range on your hamstrings, right? So if you're up here and you can go this far with a flat back and then things start to round, this is as far as you need to go, okay? You have to have a lengthened spine for this exercise. Don't cheat yourself. If you're not sure if you're rounding your back or not, so if you could do this by a mirror, maybe set up your phone, something that can record you video-wise and you can check out your posture. If you have another human in your household who is good at looking at bodies, ask them. Most likely, your dog's not going to be able to tell you. Taco doesn't give a rat's you know what I'm doing right now. I'm going to say where to touch him. I won't. He's so peaceful. Okay. About 10 more seconds here. That 2 minutes is going to be over. Start your contraction through your core. Irradiate that force, that contraction down through the rest of your body. We're going to start pushing the heel into the floor. Light up your hamstring and shorten that hamstring. Contract it at 10%. 20, 40, 60. Really drive the heel down. It's going to get really intense in the back of the leg. 80, 100. Push down. 5, 4, 3, 2. Slowly release. 80, 60, 40, 20, 10. Don't move anything else in your body. This is where your stretch is. We have to try to lift the leg up off of the floor. It shouldn't really go anywhere. In 3, 2, 1, lift. Hold it. Get it as high as you can. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Check out your range. We are going to do this one again, okay? I'll take you through a double whammy. All right, here's the good news. You don't have to hold your 2 minutes anymore. We already did that, okay? So just get to your new end range. Make sure you're feeling stretch. And now we'll start pushing into the floor again. 10%, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly release. Not all at once. Gently let it ramp down. Try to pick the leg up in 3, 2, 1. Try to lift. 3, 2, 1. Well, I feel like I got more flexible that time. Okay, so remember the rule at the beginning. You could repeat that process as many times as you continue to gain new range of motion at the end. If you get to a point where you've done your pails and rails and you try to go further and you don't get anywhere else, congratulations, you're done. You've done everything that your body's capable of for that day. Yeah? Let's do the other side. My one side feels very warm compared to the other. Okay, I got my other leg. Restart my trusty timer here. And make sure I'm in my stretch first of all. So maybe I'm a few seconds off. It's all right if one side doesn't feel the same as the other. Probably happened in the hips too. You might have one side that's much better at internal rotation or external or whatever it is. Don't assume that you need to be symmetrical. You don't. And if you do have a tendency to round your spine, keep thinking about sticking your butt back behind you. Right, kind of like a little duck with its tail feathers floofing up to the back. You could also imagine, I've got this PVC here, which is kind of a nice tool, that you've got one long line from the crown of your head out through the sits bones. Okay, so I'm just kind of simulating that here with that diagonal line. We don't want the line to break. Right, no curves, all aligned for now. At least if you imagine that, it'll help. I totally understand that the body is not made in straight lines. I get it. All right, 30 more seconds. Holding your passive stretch. PAILs contraction is going to be first. So our progressive angular tissue, the angle that's getting bigger here on us, the one that we're trying to stretch, is the hamstrings in the back of the leg. So that's what we're trying to contract when we push the heel into the floor, right? Progressively making that longer and longer and longer, the angle bigger and bigger and bigger. You ready? 3, 2, 1, push at 10%. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Push real hard. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gently release it, ramp it down, not all at once. Leg's gonna come up towards the face. You're gonna contract all of the regressive tissue. Okay, that's your quad, your hip flexors in 3, 2, 1. Pull that leg up like you're trying to lift it off the floor. 10. 3, 2, 1. Relax it. Test your range of motion again. See if you got any more out of it. Just like the other side. We'll go twice. I felt myself cheat a little bit, by the way. As I picked my leg up, I think I rounded my back a little bit. So you want to call me out? Send me a screenshot or whatever. Okay, let's do this again. Drive the heel down into the floor at 10% of your max. Then 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. We've got a full contraction through the whole body. Your core is working, your arms are working, your back, your leg, but you're sending all of that energy into the hamstring. Release in 3, 2, 1. Slowly ramp out. Last time, rails contraction, lifting the leg off of the ground. We're trying to. It shouldn't go anywhere. Ready, set, pull. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. And you're done with most of the hard work. I say most because we're going to go back in and retest some things. Okay, so you can set all that stuff off to the side. Let's go test our seated forward fold. This should feel great. Fingers crossed. Arms up, reach it forward. Oh yeah. Totally different from me than when I first started. So enjoy that. Some increase in range of motion, increase in your stretchies. The other stuff we did was hips. So let's pop back into that deep squat and go over some of the same stuff we did at the very, very beginning, okay? Some internal rotation, tapping the knee to the floor and coming back out. Now, luckily, I didn't notice too much restriction for myself, but you may just be more comfortable here. Just take 3 or 4. You don't have to do the whole 5 unless you want to. We also did some twisting. Now, granted, we did not do anything for the spine, except move it around a little bit in the beginning, but we didn't actively try to increase any range. So for me, the twisting still feels a little bit yucky. I guess I gotta do some PAILs rails on my back. But the forward flexion might feel better, okay? So remember when we built that tower? I'm gonna stack my fists, reach down, try to tap my head, and come back up. It's feeling all right. All right, so that is about it that I've got for you today. I would say at this point, assess how your body feels. It might feel warmer. You might feel, I know it's kind of a long video, but maybe now you feel like, dang, I could go lift. I could really start to work on the depth of my squats or the range in my deadlifts and RDLs and things like that. So consider how some of these things could be added to your own routine to help you gain range of motion, feel better in your own body, and keep living that life. Thanks for joining today. See you next time.